y'all, welcome to Art of the Budget. Today I'm going to be doing a plant tour. Typically on this channel I talk about personal finance and having a budget and planning for retirement as an artist. But today I'm just going to be talking about one of those small joys, and that is my houseplant collection. Just a few years ago I was not that into plants at all. I would have considered myself like a black thumb. But over the last couple of years I have gotten into houseplants. I tend to gravitate towards plants that are easy to take care of, are easy to propagate, so I can share and trade and do that kind of thing to increase my plant collection. And I do love the prayer plant family, which tend to be a little on the fussy side, but the ones I have all seem to be pretty easygoing. But yeah, I'm going to turn this camera around and show you. So yeah, I'm going to show you my plants now. Yeah. Okay, so in my bedroom is where we're starting. This is where I keep the majority of my prayer plants, or plants in the prayer plant family. I actually forget to show you the Marimo ball, which is on the left. It's a moss ball, and it just lives in that little glass of water. But yeah, this is where I keep my plants. There's a fair amount of light. This is southwest facing, but because of how the windows are, the plants do okay. I'm just showing you how I protect them from my cats jumping up. These are all non-toxic plants, but I've noticed my cats love eating them like their salad. So this is the lemon lime prayer plant, and it's been doing really well. This stem in particular has been growing really well. The other two stems in there aren't doing great, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to propagate from that first stem after a while. But overall, it's doing really well. My next plant is a Calithia Medallion. This was a grocery store rescue. A lot of the leaves looked way worse than this leaf when I first got it, and I've been nursing it back to health. And actually I just repotted that plant today into a slightly larger pot. This beauty is a variegated green prayer plant. It was recently repotted. I'm a big fan. This was one of my #1 wish list plants for a long time. This is my plain green prayer plant. It was my first prayer plant, and it's doing really well. I do get some of these crispy tips, but other than that, this one grows a lot. I recently thinned it and gave a few away, and as you can see, it's still really full and maybe needs to be thinned even a little more. This is my second prayer plant. It's my absolute favorite, the red prayer plant. I just love that bold color and design on the leaves, and it's doing really well. I think I'm showing you that not all of my prayer plants have crispy tips, but this one's been doing really well, and I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm sure I'll go back to the red one in a second. Anyway, it's doing really well, and I've been taking a lot of propagations and trying to fill out that pot, and they've, all taken and done well. You can see they don't all have crispy tips. And over here, I actually took several cuttings and didn't realize I was leaving this bald stem, but down here is still doing really well. So I may just end up taking that as a cutting to deal with that weird spot. But other than a weird haircut, they're all doing really well. Out here in the living room, which might look familiar, I actually just rearranged. Got lots of plants. The first one we're going to talk about is the Yucca Plant, and this plant is doing great. It was my very first plant. This is previous footage of it, and it was on a taller stool at that time. You can see it's almost touching the ceiling. And I don't know if you saw that text, but check out this little tuft of grass. I'm going to tell a story about it at the end of the video. But anyway, back to this. It's on a shorter stool now, and it's still like really tall, almost touching the ceiling. So I might need to cut it down. It used to be in front of that window, but now it's over here, so it's getting a little less light. We'll see how it likes that. If we move over to this plant stand, the first plant is the Paelia Pepperomis. I know that other people do really well with this plant and have really Instagram-worthy Paelias, but I have not had as much success. I recently moved it into a terracotta pot, and it's actually been doing a lot better. I just make sure that the soil is bone dry before I water it, and it's been helping. It also likes this, I think, somewhat sunnier spot than I had it before. You can see there's a good amount of new growth, so hopefully it will be Instagram worthy eventually. No babies. It did actually have a few when I got it. This is the Oxalis, and when I first got it, it was really full and it pretty much just died almost completely. I think I didn't know how to take care of it. I'd give most of my plants a well-draining soil. This obviously did not like it. I'm not going to repot it because it's been under so much stress, but I've started keeping this water bottle near it, and I just moisten the soil anytime I think of it. And maybe when it's a little stronger, I will repot it into soil that is less well draining. But you can see now it's getting a lot of new growth, so I'm pretty happy with that. This is definitely a more temperamental, this and the Paelia are more temperamental plants for me. But I just love the way it looks. I love the color. This is my parlor palm, and I have noticed that this plant hasn't grown a lot, and it also hasn't died. So maybe that's just how parlor palms are. I'm not sure. I love palm trees. I'm from Florida. I love the way it looks. So I hope that it continues to do well. But yeah, again, I don't know if it's supposed to be growing or what. I think all of my hand motions are just talking about that. So this is a Pothos, obviously. It's a cutting that I got from my friend Dory, and it's just done so well. I actually had just cut off several inches to create some new plants, so to propagate. This plant's been doing really well. I could put those propagations into this pot and make it a little more full, but I just really love how it looks with this one strand, so I'm gonna leave it like that for now. This is my rubber plant, and it had started with 2 stems, but I recently added one stem that I got in a small pot that I think was a scarlet variety or something, but they all pretty much look the same. This summer it's done really, really well. You can see on the left it's gotten really tall. This is what it looks like from a little further away. And then this is a neon pothos, and also it's been doing pretty well. It is in front of this south-facing window, so they all get a good amount of light, but I bring these shades down during the brightest part of the day because my house gets really hot. But anyway, it's doing great. We're gonna look up here at my other pothos. I used to not be a big fan, but now I am just such a fan of pothos. This is a cutting that I got from my friends Aaron and Adam, and it had just 4 leaves at the beginning, and now it has so many leaves. It's doing so well, so I feel like it likes the spot right next to the window that is south facing, so a good amount of bright but very indirect light. This pothos was a cutting from my coworker Barb, from one of the plants that she had at work before she retired, and it is also beautiful, also doing really well. It had 4 leaves at the beginning as well, and you can see it's grown a lot, and even the leaves are growing really nice and big. If anyone knows what these two or the first pothos are actually called, I would love to know. Okay, so we are going to go outside. I have this little balcony area that I rarely use. That is a bucket of water, which I'm going to use to water this. I just keep it out there. that I don't have to do that much work. This is a hydrangea that was given to me by some artists that I showed in my little like underground gallery, and it's been doing really well. Over here, holding the door open, I just have some ground covering. I don't know what you would call these, but they were just kind of rescued from a different area in my yard where the person who does maintenance for my landlord was clearing out. And so I threw them in these pots, and they just sort of live. I give them a little water every once in a while. Coming back in, this is a snake plant. It's actually one of the first plants I got. The yucca, and a spider plant that I'm about to show you. I got them at a yard sale, and they were my first plants ever. And it has gotten kind of tall and lanky. I've repotted it, but it didn't seem to help. So I do want to figure out, like, if anyone has any tips for how to get a tall, lanky snake plant to stop falling over, I would love to know. This is one of my air plants. It's right above the snake plant, and I love it because it's light green and fuzzy, but I often forget about it, so it might be dead. I've had some on and off luck with air plants. We're going to go into the spare bedroom, and this is my bird of paradise. Recently, it's gotten really tall, and so now it's kind of standing alone. It used to be on that plant shelf, and that's a big, brand new, bright green leaf. I just love it. I feel like when it gets its next leaf, it's going to be super, super tall. So now we're going into what I call the refrigerator room, and there is that spider plant that, again, was one of the first plants I ever got. That's the pot it came in, and I do need to repot it soon because it's very root bound. I've given so many of these babies away, and they've all done really well. So these two plants over here, I'm going to take them down. The one on the left is Peperomia, I think obtusifolia, but it wasn't labeled when I bought it. And on the right is a snake plant that has a little baby, and I actually repotted that today and took the baby out and gave it its own pot. I am, I guess, going on and on about the Peperomia, but yeah, and you can see my cat took a few bites out of this. It's not entirely non-toxic, but she's okay. She survived, but that's why I put it up there. This is where I keep most of my air plants. Several of these were a gift from my friend Ray, who is a florist in town here and does really incredible work. This one on the right was given to me by my friend Liz. It's my oldest prayer plant, and it's done really well. These three have done the best, but I have to say a few of the others have gotten pretty crispy despite the fact that I give them baths occasionally. So now we're in the kind of kitchen area. This is two little aloe babies. I traded for them recently, and I hope they do well. A couple of propagations. Got my miniature prayer plant, which, you know, I know in the last video it was doing really well. It's not doing like quite as well. I feel like this might not be the peak season for it, but still doing really well. I gave it a haircut recently, so you'll see a few more propagations from it. I've given a lot of props from it to people, and it's done really well. But I do think repotting it soon is probably a good idea. I bet it's pretty root bound in there, although I haven't actually looked. But you can see, despite the fact that there is a little bit of crispiness happening, it's still doing really well. This is a succulent unknown variety, another cutting given to me by my friend Dory. And it was doing really well, but I put it in a non-terracotta pot, and it definitely struggled a little, so I'm hoping it will catch back up. And then I just was showing you some more propagations. Okay, so we're at the end of the tour, and this is just what I'm keeping outside. I bring some of these guys out during the summer. And the first one I'm going to show you is my polka dot plant, which if you saw the last tour, I have really struggled. I've actually bought several different very small plants of Polka Dot Plant, and I've also propagated this a lot. This summer it did, I guess, really well, but one thing that's funny is that it flowered, so it was hard to get it in focus, but I think it gets in focus. There you can see that purple flower, and it shot up kind of like lettuce, so I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna be okay. Hey Timmy, that's the neighborhood cat. And I have this cute little pot. It's like a cute little, I don't know, old-fashioned pot with a variety of succulents. I got this at this little plant shop on the coast. I can't remember the name of it. Maybe like the Pot Shed or something. This is the original spider baby that was on that big spider plant when I got it. This is a coleus of some sort, and I fell in love with it because it's silver, but it's really just never done well. But it is beautiful, so maybe one day I'll crack the code like I have with this one. This is a Persian Shield. It needs a little bit of water right now, so it definitely shows when it's thirsty and perks back up, but you can see how purple it is. I love this so much. I mentioned in the last video that my parents have it in their house and it's just doing so well. They live in Florida. This was another little succulent from the pot shed. And then this plant was in the video earlier in that old footage of the yucca. And I think it might be a spider plant. I thought it was just some kind of weird grass and I just kept watering it because I thought it was funny. But it grew this summer and it kind of looks like it could be spider babies. It doesn't have the roots like the other one, but if anyone knows, let me know down below. I'm super curious. Hey y'all, Editing Nicole here. While we're on the topic of propagating and trading plants, I wanted to tell you all about something really cool that's happening over on Instagram. DJ Freedom, who you can find on Instagram at DJ Freedom, created an Instagram account called the Underground Plant Trade, the Underground Plant Trade, which you can find on Instagram at undergroundplant.trade. And this is a place where white people who have plants to share or have the means to purchase plants can share them with Black people. And if you go to this Instagram account, you can look up your state and find people who are requesting plants. And this is basically a small form of reparations. The point, so DJ Freedom explains that plants can just be really helpful to people. Like say if you have depression, it gives you something to take care of, a reason to wake up. And so white people can do these very small acts of reparations by giving plants to Black people. Yeah, so that's all of my houseplants. As I mentioned, I do like to propagate and share them and trade plants. Several of these I got, like I said, at a yard sale or from propagations from friends. And other ones I have definitely used this is one of the main areas where I use my discretionary income. But let me know down below what your favorite plant is in your collection or your like #1 wish plant. And I will see you in the next video.